Today's shoutout is for Zuldinga. Elesh Norn versus Ulamog, Atraxa, and Gashath. That's not the best opening hand. Yeah, I'd prefer some ramp to be honest, so we'll mulligan that one. Don't really want to skull clamp on the Skrelv. That's pretty poor as well. Alright, that's looking better. What do we get rid of here? Probably the Progenitor Exarch. We don't have a surplus of mana to dump into that. We still need more mana to make use of this hand, but it's the best one we've seen. Okay, we draw into a land on our opening turn, so that's good. Probably just have to risk an extra planar lens on turn 3. Nothing but lands during the first turn cycle, so get down a plains, and yeah, that's all we're doing here. Drew into a Magacynth Gardens, a Farseek from Gashath, and that is a Powder Keg from Ulamog. Okay, another plains for us for double mana. If I hadn't drawn into another plains there, I would have gone Magacynth Gardens, because if we only have one plains in play, then our opponents might not worry about extra planar lens enough to remove it, but if we can really accelerate ahead with 6 mana next turn, then I think it's worth just having a surplus of plains in play. Noteworthy that this is a snow-covered plains, so will not be tapped for double mana. Priority being held up by the Atraxa player, so I'm hoping he doesn't have a Nature's Claim in hand. Astral Cornucopia into play, and that just comes in with one counter. Obviously it's going to be more than that once Atraxa hits play. The lands for the colourless player, we see a Strip Mine and Urborg, interestingly enough, and a Sanctum of Ugin, and then an Inspiring Statuary. Okay, another plains for us, so we've got our next couple of turns sorted out. I think it just has to be a Smothering Tithe here. I'll assume that no one has Artifact and Enchantment removal if they didn't go after the extra planar lens. Maybe they were just playing nice. And we're looking at Defiler of Faith next turn, so that we'll have 8 mana hopefully, at least. Not including the Smothering Tithe, so we should be able to go for Defiler of Faith, maybe into this. And that'll set us up for our commander. Gashath throwing out Xenagos, God of Revels, so we're going to have to be very careful once the commander hits. That'll be 14 points of commander damage at least, and a hell of a lot of dinosaurs. Atraxa entering play here, and see if they want to graft there or not. I would think they'd keep the plus counter on the land ready to proliferate it. Okay, and then casting a Llanowar Elves after that, so leaving the plus counter on here ready to proliferate, so they'll add multiple counters to things at the end of the turn. And I think it's safe to assume that the Powder Keg is going to be going after CMC 4 to get rid of Atraxa and Smothering Tithe. That seems like it'll be a decent target. Going after 3 for the extra planar lens doesn't really make sense because they'll lose their own statuary. And that's not what I think it is it? The wow, the Tabernacle, okay. So all creatures have, at the beginning of your upkeep, pay 1 or destroy it. Yeah, I did join this game because it... What did it say? Oh, an O-ring as well, or an Oblivion Stone. Yeah, what did the game say? Power level 6 to 8, budget casual, testing, no CDH, infinite or neckbeards. I mean, yeah, you never know what games you're going to get on Magic Online. People just play whatever they want. I think they largely ignore those things. Anyway, we can get down some mana here. Are we just expecting to lose everything then to the Oblivion Stone? So I'm just going to go for the Basilica Shepherd then, and wait for the Oblivion Stone to go off. Obviously no point playing a bunch of stuff into the Oblivion Stone. Kodama's Reach from Gashath, so I think it's safe to say that we'll be expecting Gashath to come down next turn. Noteworthy there's a Demolition Field here, so maybe don't have to see the Tabernacle for too long. They'll probably allow this to go through the turn cycle, I would imagine. That's what they should do, and then blow it up at the end. Atraxa now casting a Vraska, Betrayer's Sting, managing to keep the creatures in play. Drawing a card and proliferating, losing a life and giving us a treasure token. And then Atraxa swinging into the right. All 3 of us should be concentrating on the right here thanks to Tabernacle and O-Stone. It's noteworthy that the Strip Mine can get rid of the Demolition Field, so I'm hoping that this player isn't auto-yielding. He is holding priority here, so it doesn't look like it. Atraxa proliferating again at the end of the turn, of course, so Vraska now on 8 loyalty, and it did come down for 6 mana by the looks of it. Might be able to team up a bit more on this player. If we put some infect counters with our mites over there, then Atraxa will be able to proliferate them. There's an Urza's Tower, part of the Tron lands. Forsaken Monument, so the Ulamog player is tapping out. Has 1, 2, 3 lands that will tap for colourless. Tabernacle only taps because of the Urborg. Alright, so have to pay into the Tabernacle here. Might as well just use the treasure tokens. I'm expecting to lose those to the O-Stone anyway. Okay, just another plains for us, so yeah, we're going to be able to recast our commander after it gets blown up by the O-Stones, so I suppose we might as well do that. Let's swing in first. So we'll go in to the right at the colourless player, put some poison counters over there. We are at risk, one of us is at risk of losing to this Vraska, unfortunately. I'm actually not going to play anything here because, again, like I said, I'm just expecting this thing to go off. And we've got little to nothing to do once it does, so we're best just keeping cards in hand, I think, as annoying as it is. Alright, yeah, so the Tabernacle being dealt with by the Ulamog player. We'll see if he's got any wastes in the library. Probably should do, for things like Demolition Field and Path to Exile. This probably means that we are seeing Geshath, and hopefully it swings in over to the right. Okay, not getting down the commander, amazingly. Instead going for the Carnage Tyrant. So that's a 14-13, swinging into the right. Alright, Azuri Stalker of Spheres coming into play here. That will proliferate twice and draw a card if they want to put the mana into it. Should probably graft onto the Azuri, and they do, so a plus counter going on that before the proliferation. So they have paid into this, which means they'll be able to get the Vraska Limit Break off, and then, yeah, keep it in play as well. They didn't proliferate onto here, curiously, so maybe just thinking of minusing down over here. Azuri drawing a couple of cards, of course. Yeah, so Vraska ticks down, puts the 9 infect counters over here, so just have to hope that Atraxa actually survives. I don't see what a colourless player can do about this at this point. Now seeing a Norn's Decree from the 4-colour player, and then Atraxa swings in at us for 4 points of commander damage. So proliferating at the end of the turn gets rid of the Ulamog player, and yeah, we're just trying to deal with the Atraxa at this point. I can help out against Geshath by putting a poison counter over there. Play the Mycosynth Gardens and the Arcane Signet. Problem is our commander can't wipe out the Atraxa because it is a Phyrexian. This should probably be a Phyrexian as well. It is, so yeah, the board wipe doesn't really help against this player. But let's go for Defiler of Faith. Then we can play the Elesh Norn. And that will make a soldier token for us just for chump blocking, which I don't think is going to be too relevant. And we can't deal with the Atraxa, unfortunately, so let's take the mites in to the dinosaur player. And we might as well hold the flyer back against our opponent's commander. And yeah, I don't think we're going to do too much of anything this game, so let's just go for the Skrelv. We can get the Summoning Sickness away from that. It will make another token for us to sacrifice. And we're truly empty-handed at this point, of course. So activate our commander. Sacrifice a soldier, and yeah, get rid of a mite. We're not looking to win with infect damage in this deck, really. Then we incubate 5 times and transform all the incubate tokens, so we end up with a bunch of 5/5s basically. And that might allow us to go wide on the Vraska next turn. Now, who does the dinosaur player go in at is the question, assuming that we see the Geshath this turn. We've got no cards in hand. The Atraxa is looking very threatening and has 6 cards in hand, but people are often put off by the Death Touch. Our opponent shouldn't have too much difficulty in recasting the Geshath again. Anyway, Geshath coming into play. Xenagos, of course, being pointed at the Geshath, so that's a 14-3. And see where they want to go in here. Yep, going in at Atraxa as they should. And taking the Carnage Tyrant over at Vraska as well. That does have trample. Atraxa jumping in the way of the Carnage Tyrant, so they lose the Vraska anyway. And Atraxa is lost as well. Norn's Decree triggers, and they're put to 14 points of commander damage. There's a lot of dinosaurs about to come in, I imagine. Revealing all these cards here. Oh, I forgot about that new dinosaur. That is Galter and Mavrin. A Rampaging Brontodon. The Xenagos is animated, so only getting 4 dinosaurs here. Temple Altasaur and Thrashing Brontodon as well. Now, if our opponent goes for the Atraxa again and proliferates here, there'll be at least 4 counters there. We can give protection. Yeah, we can't give protection from all their colours, unfortunately, thanks to this one white creature. Yeah, I was going to say we could have double strike and 2 instances of toxic, which would be 4 poison. Yeah, so probably still not enough to get rid of them. A telling time from Atraxa. Look at the top 3. 1 into hand, 1 on top, 1 on the bottom. And following that up with a ponder. Alright, and the Atraxa player managing to get into a dam. So, it's a shame. I was hoping to land some more infect damage over here, but I don't think we would have survived against the dinosaur player still, so it buys us some time to maybe draw into something that's at least slightly relevant. Alright, and we get our first poison counter from Infectious Inquiry. They'll draw 2 cards and lose 2 life, so give us more treasure tokens, which are pretty useless while we don't have any cards in hand. Can't even cast our commander next turn. Alright, and watch us rip a land off the top. Yup. Well, we'll hold our opponent off getting down the Gashath again, but I imagine he's just going to focus on ramping and getting down lands next turn anyway, ready for Gashath next turn. So I don't think the Argent of Etchings really helps us here. So, as you would expect, Myriad Landscape being sacrificed here. Okay, I think they might have failed to find there. Do they not have any basics left? Yeah, they've only got 9 mana available. So, if they drop a land next turn, they can still recast the commander. Tezzeret's Gambit now, so more proliferate. Draw 2 and proliferate. More treasure tokens for us. Alright, our opponent playing out Vraska now, and going after our commander, which is a strange target. I'd go for the Smothering Tithe or the extra planar lens there, but yeah, I don't see... I mean, it depends on what our opponent's about to play out, really. The Elesh Norn wouldn't get rid of their commander, because it is a Phyrexian. Alright, not an Atraxa, a Solemn Simulacrum. I think they'd want that to be blown up by our commander, because they get to draw another card. Alright, another land off the top, please. Alright, an Elesh Norn. So we can have 2 Elesh Norns in play at the same time. Won't be able to flip this one, unfortunately. But let's attempt this and play our commander again, which we can't transform thanks to a lack of creatures. I think playing this as a Phyrexian tribal deck, this Phyrexian tribe doesn't quite have the support, I don't think. So I think just doing it as a token deck and being willing to lose some of your own tokens in the board wipe is the way to do it. Maybe just artifact tokens would be another means of building this. But I've played like... How many games have I played? I think this is the 3rd one now, and haven't been very impressed with this commander in this current build as a Phyrexian tribal commander. But then again, this is on Magic Online, where you do get a lot of tryhards and neckbeards, according to this player. I think it was this player that set up this game. Double mana over here now as well, in the form of Mirari's Wake, and just making a bunch of green mana. And that is an annoyed Altasaur, so cascading into another dinosaur most likely. Yep, that is a Taurian Mauler. And haste going on to this thing from the Xenagos, so that's a 10-9 with reach and trample. So do you deal with the Vraska while you've got the chance? No, swinging in at us. Okay. So looking to draw a card maybe? Maybe that's the plan. Could double block here, but don't fancy losing the Grand Cenobite, so... Do we mind just recasting this next turn? Yeah, I'll take a bit less, well, a lot less damage here. We'll just take the 3. Can't transform that commander anyway, so might as well make use of it and likely just get to recast it next turn. Alright, so Elesh Norn triggers twice there. One from the damage on itself and once from the damage onto us. Our opponents, everyone's at a decent enough life total thanks to all the infection shenanigans, so I don't think it really matters. Our opponent plays out as a land Song Mad Treachery as well, so could have gained control of a creature with that, but discerning on more mana instead. Which is surprising with the Mirari's Wake in play, but maybe is expecting not to have that in play by the end of next turn. Atraxa, Praetor's Voice coming back into play. They did put Opal Palace mana through that, so it should come down with a plus counter. Taurian Mauler will get a plus counter as well. And then a plus counter being grafted onto it as well. Not sure where the other plus counter came from. Anyway, there's an Ikamoon Gauntlet as well. And we see another Planeswalker, Sorin, Lord of Innistrad. So that triggers the Ikamoon Gauntlet pointed at the Vraska, which can then minus down and blow something up. Noteworthy that it's also got the 0 ability to proliferate as well. Both of these Planeswalkers will have that thanks to the Ikamoon Gauntlet. Instead deciding to make a vampire token with that, which I'm not sure really helps against the trample, and in fact it's going to die straight away to the Elesh Norn, so Yeah, might as well have gone for the proliferate with that, because that will effectively be a +1. Casting a Vraska's Fall after that. Each opponent sacrifices a creature and gets a poison counter. So that was the argument for not blocking against the dinosaur. So Atraxa going for a bunch of proliferate after that. Lands with counters. This is going to tap for 10 mana. Hasn't been very much in the ways of removal this game. Let's see what we draw into. That is an Attentive Skywarden. So we'll be able to chump block the Atraxa at least. So it's just our commander straight into play again. And play the Attentive Skywarden as well. Alright, now thanks to Atraxa being in play, I don't think we could see Gishath get commander damage on our opponent now. Could probably have done it last turn, I think. But decided on the Altasaur instead. So 4 cards in hand, casting the Gishath Sun's Avatar. Alright, and a generous gift onto the Atraxa, so that's probably enough to allow our opponent to land commander damage over here. And then we'll still be left with a bunch of dinosaurs at the end of the turn, and there's no means of us flipping this around to help us blow everything up, so I'll assume that that's what's going to happen here. Actually forgot about the buff from Gishath, so it goes up to a 16-5. Because it had 8 power thanks to the Mirari's Wake, so probably still could have gone through Atraxa anyway, but manages to keep Gishath in play this way. Drawing a card thanks to the Norn's Decree, because we are being attacked by something. Yeah, we're taking 7 from the Altasaur and 7 from the Xenagos. Elesh Norn can go under the Xenagos, because this has Trample, so Elesh Norn triggers twice again. And this player's knocked down to 30 commander, so Atraxa going down. So revealing a bunch of stuff here. There's a Tybalt's Trickery, Return to Nature. Not seen too many dinosaurs here. Yadaro is the only one that they hit, so down comes Adaro into play. A 9/9 trample with haste. And then, yeah, they've got 3 cards in hand, but going for a Soul's Majesty, so drawing 16 cards off the Gishath. Yeah, hitting 16 cards off the top and not revealing any dinosaurs is pretty good going. We get even more useless Smothering Tithe tokens. Alright, so throwing another land out. I think they were at 32 before, so they might have paid 1 into Elesh Norn to not lose 2 life. They're about to draw a bunch of cards. I don't think that was going to be worth it for them. Alright, a White Sun's Twilight would be really good here. But it's just a land, as you would expect, so yeah. We just go down next turn, most likely. I think our opponent has enough damage on us at this point. Yeah, there's nothing we can do here. We'll just swing in at our opponent. Don't have any incubator tokens to transform. I don't think that's the problem. When they introduce a new mechanic in every set, there aren't enough of those mechanics to support an entire commander deck. Maybe there would be if there was, if we had the precon on Magic Online, but we don't. So, yeah, I'll just play a land here and show my opponent that we don't have anything. Hopefully he won't play around too much. Yeah, we don't have the precons on Magic Online for whatever reason. And so that means that things like Incubate and other specialist abilities, we don't have too many of them to make an entire 100 card deck. And yeah, so I've had to spread out amongst a few different tactics. And it's quite thin amongst those tactics, so yeah, not too impressed with this deck in all honesty. Plus it's mono white's lack of card draw, which some people say it's been fixed. I think it's far from fixed. You still have to use way too many cards to draw 1 card every now and then. But there we are, Gishath wins it. Good game to my opponent. If you want to see more from Elesh Norn, then you can let me know, but I think I'll have to change the deck up into something more generic, like a token build or maybe an artifact token build, because as for Phyrexian Tribal, it's just not good enough for Magic Online. There's way too many tried and tested decks out there that this just won't compete against. Let me know either way. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.